When rescuers first saw him, he was nothing more than a shadow slipping through the night, a tiny, frightened creature who only emerged when the world was still, just long enough to nibble on scraps left outside the door. His name, later given to him, would be Variety, but at that time, he had no name, no safety, no trust. He was broken, inside and out. One of his legs was completely gone. No one knew what had caused it, whether a cruel act by a human or a vicious encounter with another animal. Whatever it was, the pain had long passed into something deeper, a quiet endurance, as if he no longer expected kindness from this world. His other injuries spoke of his silent suffering, a damaged eye, dull and cloudy, on the verge of infection. And his heart, perhaps the most wounded of all, trembled with fear at the slightest sound of human footsteps. He didn't hiss, he didn't growl, he simply disappeared. The rescuers, touched by the sight of him hunched outside the building, never forced their presence on him. Instead, they waited. They placed food outside gently, stepped away, and watched from a distance as he crept closer each day. At first, he ate as if expecting the food to be snatched away, but with time, he paused less between bites. He began to linger longer, and then, one day, he didn't run when they opened the door. It was the moment they had been hoping for. From that point forward, everything began to change. The team acted quickly. Variety's missing leg needed immediate surgery to prevent any chance of infection or necrosis. He was carefully sedated, and his damaged limb was professionally treated. His injured eye, which had deteriorated beyond repair, was gently removed to relieve his suffering. Through it all, the rescuers stayed by his side, speaking softly, offering touch only when he welcomed it, and respecting every boundary he had. The recovery would not be easy. It would take 35 long weeks. At first, every step was a battle. He was terrified, uncertain of the hands that now carried him and the voices that called him softly. But the team was patient. They didn't demand his trust, they earned it. Day by day, with gentle gestures, quiet kindness, and unwavering love, they helped Variety see that not all humans hurt. Some heal. Each small milestone was a celebration. When he first purred, it was barely audible, like the softest whisper, but it meant everything. When he finally allowed someone to stroke his head without flinching, there were tears in the eyes of those who had waited so long for that moment. Bit by bit, the frightened stray began to change. The once isolated cat who hid in shadows began to seek light. Variety learned to move again. Despite having just 2 legs and only 1 eye, he surprised everyone with his resilience. He adjusted his balance, figured out how to leap down safely from soft cushions, and even chase small toys across the floor. He was not just surviving, he was living, and his heart, once closed so tightly, began to open. He started nuzzling the hands that fed him. He followed his caregivers from room to room. He curled up in warm laps, and one day he fell asleep on someone's chest for the very first time, his soft breath rising and falling in peaceful rhythm. From a cat who couldn't bear to be seen, he had become the soul of the rescue centre. He made friends, both feline and human. Other rescued animals found comfort in his quiet strength, and the people who had once waited patiently outside the door now laughed with him, played with him, and marvelled at the transformation they had witnessed. Variety had become a symbol, not of what had been lost, but of what could be found. Today he lives happily in a place where he is loved deeply. He walks with confidence, plays with joy, and rests without fear. He only has 2 legs and 1 eye, but he is whole. His heart is full. And most beautifully, he has learned to trust again. Variety's story is more than a tale of survival. It is a testament to the power of love, patience, and second chances. It's about what happens when we see beyond the scars and listen to what's left unspoken. It's about how healing takes time, but it always begins with someone who cares enough to try. If Variety's journey touched your heart, please share his story. There are so many animals out there still hiding in the shadows, afraid, hurting, waiting. Let's remind the world that even the most broken souls can find light again, with a little kindness, a lot of patience, and love that never gives up. Because every life matters. Does a cat with a missing tail and paralysed hind legs deserve to live? That was the question people whispered when they first saw him. Tiny, fragile, dragging his limp back legs across the cold pavement, tail nothing but a short stump, bitten off in one of many cruel attacks. His name was Casper. Casper was a white cat with fur so pristine and silky, it almost looked like snow under the sunlight. But beneath that beautiful coat was a body marked by hardship and a spirit dimmed by pain. His large, round eyes, once full of curiosity perhaps, now reflected only fear, exhaustion, and a silent plea for safety. He had no home, no comfort, no peace. Casper had been bullied mercilessly by other cats. With his paralysed hind legs, he couldn't run, couldn't defend himself. He became an easy target. Over time, he learned to hide, often slipping under parked cars, praying to be overlooked, to be left alone. Life was survival, nothing more. Until one day, fate intervened. A kind-hearted woman happened to pass by and noticed something small and white curled beneath a car. At first, she thought it was just another stray, but when she looked closer, she saw the truth. A broken body, a missing tail, a soul too afraid to even cry out. Her heart clenched. She went home, grabbed some cat food, and returned. She didn't rush. She knelt down slowly, holding the food out in her palm, her voice soft and soothing. Casper hesitated, but hunger, exhaustion, and something gentle in her eyes drew him out. He dragged his fragile frame toward her and ate, one cautious bite at a time. It was a simple act, but it changed everything. The woman knew she couldn't leave him there. If he stayed on the streets, he wouldn't survive long. So she contacted a local animal rescue team and waited by his side until they arrived. Together they gently lifted Casper and carried him to safety, for the first time in what might have been his entire life. But the road ahead was far from easy. At the rescue centre, Casper curled into a ball in the corner of his crate. His eyes refused to meet anyone's. He didn't eat. He didn't move unless necessary. His spirit was crumpled, and even though he was finally safe, he didn't know how to believe in that safety. The rescuers were patient. They spoke to him gently, sat by his side, offered food and love without expectations. One of the women, the same one who first found him, began speaking to him through a small camera in the room when she couldn't be there in person. She'd say his name softly, tell him about the life waiting for him, the warm bed, the friends, the meals, the joy. At first, there was no response, but day by day, a change began. Casper started eating again, just a few bites at first, but it was a start. He began lifting his head when someone entered the room. The heavy weight of fear began to lift from his eyes, replaced by something softer. Something fragile, but beautiful. Hope. Then, something miraculous happened. Casper, the cat who couldn't use his hind legs, began trying to stand. The team watched with held breath as he pushed himself up. Not completely, not perfectly, but enough to surprise them all. With time, therapy, and unwavering care, Casper's body began to grow stronger. And then one day, he stood, on all four legs. It felt like the world stood still in that moment. A room full of people who had seen more suffering than most could bear found themselves smiling through tears. Casper wasn't just surviving anymore, he was healing. He began to eat with appetite. He started walking, then running. His movements weren't flawless, but they were full of joy. The same paws that had once dragged through dirt and pain now danced across soft blankets. His stubby tail wagged with excitement. His eyes shone, not with fear, but with warmth. Casper even made a new friend at the rescue centre, a cat named Shelby, who also carried her own scars. But together, they found light again. They curled up beside each other during naps, shared toys, and looked after one another like the quietest of guardians. Casper had become the miracle no one dared hope for. He was more than the cat with missing parts. He was a symbol of resilience, of courage, of what can happen when someone chooses love instead of pity, patience instead of frustration. Today Casper runs, he plays, he cuddles, he trusts. He is whole, not because he has all his limbs or a perfect body, but because he is loved. He has a second chance, and he lives it fully. His journey is a reminder to us all that even in the darkest places, miracles can find a way. That every soul, no matter how broken, deserves love. That sometimes all it takes is one person to believe. Thank you for being part of Casper's incredible journey. If his story has touched your heart, please help us spread it. Like, share, and subscribe to support stories like his. Turn on notifications so you never miss the next chapter of hope. Let's keep rescuing. Let's keep believing. Let's be the reason another Casper gets a chance to run again.
You ate 3 cans of wet food today. You need to stop screaming.